We were live on the keynote stream. You said feels like the chasing a dream.
Welcome to VL Extras, the corner of the internet where we take the strangest turns to bring you the most mind-bending stories from the world of AI. Last time we covered WWDC, it sounded like Apple hadn't quite cracked the code. They hinted at Apple Intelligence, but essentially asked for more time. And for a while, it seemed like their high-profile partnership with OpenAI was the primary path forward. But behind the scenes, that relationship has seemingly gone awry. In a move that feels like a massive strategic white flag, Apple has ditched the solo path and caved. They've turned to their oldest rival, Google, acknowledging that the Gemini 3 family of models is simply too far ahead to ignore. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button to join us for more stories from the tech world that will truly make you say, wow.
Two of the biggest names in tech are teaming up to just be that much bigger, I guess. Apple announcing today that Gemini will power Siri, and Deirdre Bosa has more in Tech Check. And Deirdre, I think the real significance here is that this was supposed to be a whole ChatGPT thing, and now here comes Gemini, right?
Exactly. So the partnership itself, it surprised no one, but you're right, Kelly. It absolutely hits OpenAI where it hurts. More momentum for Gemini, which has been gaining ground in terms of traffic and usage. This chart has been circulating for the last week or so, really just showing sort of how they're converging and how Gemini is catching up. But there is another way to look at this partnership. The deal locks Google into the most expensive part of the AI stack, while Apple gets to keep control of the customer and the data. So yes, a new revenue stream and scale for Google Gemini, but this also caps the upside and it shifts longer-term leverage to the platform that owns the user, and that being Apple in this case. So here's how it works. Most requests are handled on device, on your iPhone. So that's on Apple's own chips. If the task is more complex, the request goes to Apple's private cloud compute, Apple-owned servers, Apple-controlled software, Apple's privacy rules. Google only sees what Apple decides to send, and at that point, it's highly scoped and anonymized. Google gets to keep the customer relationship and the data, while Google gets paid for inference and scale, yes, but it doesn't own the user. And this certainly doesn't help sell Pixel or Android devices on the back of this deal because they're able to access Gemini on an iOS device. So going back to that chart I showed you at the start, owning the customer, that may ultimately matter more than owning the model, especially in this next leg of the race. So, Kelly, extremely bullish for Google on the surface. That's how you saw it hit $4 trillion in market cap this morning, but longer term, not quite as clear. And, we don't have the answers to many of these questions. So a lot will be determined by what we know.
Is 2026 finally the year that Siri doesn't suck? It's a real possibility. Apple and Google just unveiled a multi-year strategic collaboration to build the next generation of Apple's foundation models on Google's Gemini technology and cloud infrastructure. This isn't just a software update, it's a seismic shift. For years, Apple tried to keep Siri in a walled garden, but as the AI race turned into a sprint, that garden started to look more like a desert. By tapping into Gemini, Apple is admitting something they rarely do. They need outside help to survive. Behind the scenes, this project is codenamed Campos, and it represents the most radical change to Siri since it first debuted in 2011. Apple is essentially killing off the old command-based Siri and replacing it with a full-blown chatbot interface in iOS 27. We're talking about a version of Siri that doesn't just set a timer, but can actually reason, follow multi-step conversations, and dive deep into your apps. Imagine asking Siri to find a specific photo from your vacation, crop it, and then draft an email to your mom about it all in one go. That's the level of integration Apple is aiming for across mail, photos, messages, and even Xcode. But to make this work, Apple had to face a hard truth. Their own silicon wasn't ready for the sheer scale of the 1.2 trillion parameter Gemini 3 Pro model.
We've all been there.
Siri, what's the name of the guy I had a meeting with a couple of months ago at Cafe Grinnell?
You met Zach Wingate at Cafe Grinnell.
Zach!
Actor Bella Ramsey was bailed out by a new version of Apple's Siri that was meant to be available for all.
That feature still has not been released. It's originally supposed to come out April, May of 2025, but now it's on track for spring 2026.
Apple took down the ad and is facing a lawsuit over the delay. But the disconnect exposed a deeper issue. the company was losing ground in the AI race.
They totally missed the boat. There was indecision. There was lack of concern that this could become a real thing.
This is a story about how hard it can be to stay on top.
AI is something that wasn't in their DNA.
Continued failure doesn't just hurt Siri. It could threaten the iPhone's dominance.
The product line accounts for more than half of Apple's revenue.
So missteps with what's become its most noticeable missing features could be devastating.
AI has the ability to be a make or break moment for the company.
Apple has always been about good design and accessibility.
Historically tends to wait until the technology has been improved by others, then it will perfect it with its own design and some of its own features, and then it will show it to people. And it's done that really well.
They knocked it out of the park with multi-touch, the very core of the iPad. They completely destroyed the competition with their chips. But with AI, they seem pretty far away from really nailing the user experience and the core tech.
Nowhere is this more apparent than with Siri, its character in a play also starring Amazon's Alexa, Google Assistant, and for a while there, Microsoft's Cortana. Poor Cortana. But here's the thing, Apple didn't create Siri, it bought it.
Siri.
Back in 2011, the little-known app gave Apple a head start.
There was really nothing like it on the market at the time.
What is the weather like today?
Here's the forecast for today.
People had been clamoring for some kind of assistant software, and it looked like they had something very cutting edge.
Now this race is far from over.
But its early lead didn't last. Within a few years, those other players hit the stage, and they felt far more advanced.
They came out with a product 4 years after Siri, but it quickly felt that they were 4 years ahead of Siri.
Again, Apple threw some money at this burgeoning AI problem. It poached one of Google's top AI executives, John Giannandrea.
He quickly took over Siri and all the AI initiatives. They brought everything under one roof, and at that point, people were very excited. Not only had Apple taken a prized AI mind from its biggest competitor at the time, but now they felt like they can push all their eggs into the AI basket.
Giannandrea's team tried building a lighter, faster Siri, but the project was ultimately scrapped. Meanwhile, rivals were racing ahead to develop large language models, a foundation of generative AI.
For Apple, things were about to go from bad to, "Hey Siri, what's a good word to finish this sentence?"
This is where the story gets controversial. To run these massive models, Apple is reportedly routing Siri requests directly through Google's servers. For a company that built its brand on a privacy bubble, this is a huge philosophical departure. To calm the nerves of privacy advocates, Apple is engineering a dumb pipe architecture. Basically, your request goes through Apple's private cloud compute first, where your identity and personal data are stripped away before being sent to Google for the heavy lifting. Google gets the math problem, Apple keeps the answer key. New Siri heads Craig Federighi and Mike Rockwell are clearly choosing practicality over idealism. They know that if they don't deliver a Siri that can actually compete with ChatGPT or Claude, the iPhone risks becoming a relic. They're even rumored to be working on an AI pin, an AirTag-sized wearable to bring this new Gemini-powered brain into our physical world in 2027.
So, the headline is that the big Siri update we've all been waiting for is finally going to be coming in 2026, and it will be powered by Google. Now, we knew this was coming. This was a rumor for a while. We've talked about it in the past. Apple continued for the last couple of months to just spin their wheels, and Siri continued to suck. I made a video about 9 months ago about the state of Apple's AI crisis, basically, and not a whole lot has changed since then. You should go watch that video. It's linked below. It's basically a much more in-depth, detailed analysis of all of Apple's AI stuff. But this update, this headline, is basically now Apple and Google putting out statements confirming the hilarious news that Apple hasn't finally figured out AI. They will be partnering with a company who has figured out AI. So here's the official quote from Apple. After careful evaluation, we have determined that Google's technology provides the most capable foundation for Apple foundation models, and we're excited about the innovative new experiences it will unlock for our users. Pretty classic vanilla statement from Apple, but this is still really interesting for a couple of reasons. I have questions that don't have answers yet that we probably won't get the answers to until Apple's WWDC event in June, which is likely when they'll formally announce this new revamped Siri again. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But also just, wow, this is a pretty big news story just because it is a $4 trillion tech company that everyone assumes is on the bleeding edge of all this stuff, and we're waiting for them to get it together and finally jump in the AI race. And now this feels like the headline that we can all point to say, okay, yeah, they're losing the AI race. And honestly, I don't blame them. It's hard to tell if that's exactly what's happened at this very moment, but that's how it feels.
So is this a smart course correction or a risky bet? For users, it means a Siri that might finally understand you. For Google, it's a massive $1 billion a year vote of confidence that has already sent their stocks soaring. It's a strange new era where the two most powerful tech giants have realized they are better off as frenemies than fighting a losing battle against the breakneck speed of AI innovation. Apple may have succumbed to Google's tech, but in doing so, they might have just saved the iPhone's future.
Like a truce in a cold tech past. Is it genius or giving in slow? When the answer's from somebody else's glow, did Apple blink first?